All right, you guys like this title? I think this is a good one. Why being dumb is actually the best way to make your first $100,000. $100,000. It's a lot of money, but well, it can be depending on where you're at, who you are, whatever. I can't talk right now. Okay. Today's topic: why being dumb is actually the best way to make your first 100K. This is honestly so ironic, and it's so true. I can point to so many different examples of this of people I know. Um,
Shout out Andy.
Dude, he is such a great example. Oh my god. Okay, we're definitely gonna have to talk about him. But at first, I want to read you. I believe this is a tweet. So this is inspired by our friend and pal Tej Doza, who I highly recommend that you guys check out his Twitter account and stuff. He's got some knowledge being dropped. But the tweet is something along the lines of 0 to 100K pays to be dumb, minimal thinking, just action taking. 100K to 1 mil plus pays to be smart, more thinking and strategizing, start delegating, systemizing, etc. Problem is, you're approaching 0 to 100K like a smart guy when you should be executing like a dumb guy. God, that was just what a tweet, man. What a tweet. Tej Doza, pat you on the back there. I would if I could. Scotty, what's your take, man? I got to ask you. Because I feel like I don't know, man. Were you ever the dumb guy? Were you ever the dumb guy? I feel like you always just have your glasses on, pretending to be super smart all the time.
No, I mean I was definitely the dumb guy for a bit. I was very comfortable with just putting in hours, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm just gonna keep going, and something's gonna work eventually. And it was just all me, and it was just putting my ass in the chair and writing at the time. So when I was the dumb guy, I was very much sort of the blogging, SEO, affiliate marketing days. Where and then I mean I guess that would be the switch for me when I went from the dumb guy to trying to be smart, where I was like I recognized I couldn't scale what I'm doing because it's all reliant on me sitting down and writing. I tried to hire writers, didn't work. I tried to do a bunch of things that didn't work, and then I made the strategic decision of like, hey, if I want to scale and make a shit ton more money than I currently am, not just double but maybe 10x or 20x or 100x, I'm going to need to learn paid traffic. So that's what I did. Yeah,
And that's
I
what
was
that's why you
definitely,
got into dropshipping in the first place, right?
yeah, exactly.
As like you weren't even looking at it as like I want to dropship to make money. It's like no, I want to dropship to learn Facebook ads, pay traffic.
Correct. It seemed, and honestly probably is the um the best or easiest way to learn paid traffic advertising.
I think there's a huge insight. This is not the topic of this audio at all, but there's a huge insight in there in the way that Scotty approached that.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to make money, trying to learn and understand that money is the byproduct of you getting good at something.
100%. Easier said than done. Easier to say or easier to do when you've got money coming in elsewhere. Um, versus when you're broke and you're relying on the income. But I mean, I guess that's part of what we preach to. Don't quit your job. Don't drop out of school until you've got it going. Like, make it so that it's okay if you fail. Make it so that it's okay if it takes 6 months or a year to get something off the ground.
That's Scotty advice, not mine. My advice is just fucking drop out of college. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's what I did. It worked for me. But I'm definitely not your typical soybean out here in these fields. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I believe I did tell you not to do that.
Did you? Did I talk to you about it?
I think so.
Because that was like just when I had first met you.
I
I
think
I met you probably like we started talking on Twitter probably like 2 or 3 weeks before I dropped out of school.
I think I either told you I wouldn't recommend that, or I told you, damn, congrats, I wouldn't have done that, but cool. I think it was one of those. But oh,
Anyways, good times, good times. Fun fact: the way that this is so crazy. I don't know if anyone cares about this, but I want to mention it anyway. The way that me and Scotty met in the first place was literally on Twitter. He had an anonymous account that was like reviewing. What was it? It was like reviewing different courses and stuff.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I was trying to grow my Twitter account. I had like 50 followers at the time, and I reached out to his account being like, yo, I wrote this thread. Like, can you retweet it? Like, I was just being a dickhead, just trying to get some self promotion. And then I believe that was Christmas Day 2017 or around then. Christmas Eve, maybe it was somewhere around then. I remember I was visiting family for Christmas when that happened. And that's how we met. And then we just started talking, and fucking here we are 3-4 years later. Craziness, man. Business partners and boys and all that. Pretty cool. But anyways, okay, back to the topic at hand. Why being dumb is actually the best way to make your first 100K. So the tweet, I think, kind of did some justice to it. Did a lot of justice, honestly. But I think there's kind of two main approaches to business. And one is like, you're just kind of being dumb. Like, you don't really think things through a whole lot. You just do a bunch of shit and just see what happens. And then you have being a little bit more planned out, ready, aim, fire versus like fire, ready, aim, or whatever the saying is. And you're really thinking things through, strategizing, taking time to make your moves. And the thing about your first 100K, going from 0 to 100K, is that in my experience, it is not something that requires a whole lot of strategical thinking, a whole lot of thought. Like, when I was first getting started, I used to think that I needed to do so much strategy type stuff and like come up with an amazing $1 million business idea and like really plan things out perfectly and all that kind of stuff. And thinking like that, I made $0. I made a total of absolutely zero fucking dollars thinking like that. The thing that got me making money was just brute force, like basically sending out cold emails. I mean, that's really how I started making money at the very beginning. The first 100K from 0 is very much so a brute force endeavor. There's not a whole lot of thought that needs to go into it to make $100,000 in revenue or in profit. Getting from that level to the next level, I think definitely does require a lot more thinking and strategizing, because it's just not something, it's much harder to get from 100K to $1 million just with brute force, like just by yourself. But 0 to 100K, you can 100% do completely on your own with no other employees or anyone around you, and not a whole lot of thought into it. Like, there's really not a whole lot of thought that needs to go into it. Obviously, you have to like have a basic idea of what you're going to do. But the majority of that first 100K is literally just you putting an offer in front of someone's face and being like, yo, do you want this? And then probably saying no. And you're like, okay, cool. And then you go on to the next one. Hey, do you want this? No, not really. Okay, cool. Move on to the next guy. Hey, do you want this? No. Okay, cool. Move on to the next guy. And eventually you find someone who's like, okay, yeah, actually, I'll take you up on that. That's like 90% of it in my experience. And obviously it does depend on what you do, the kind of business model that you're in. But to me, that's really how it works. The first 100K requires very little strategical thinking. And I think that's the problem, is people are trying, when they're trying to start a business, they're trying to be the CEO. Like, that's who they want to be. They want to be that CEO, that cool, sexy, I own a business, I'm the man. And they're kind of thinking along those lines of like being that high level guy, when in reality, at the very beginning, you can't be the CEO until you have someone who's being the employee, who's actually doing the day-to-day work and doing all that kind of thing. But when you're first starting out, it's just you. You're not going to hire someone when you have $0 in revenue. So you have to kind of be both. You have to be both the employer and the employee. And at the very beginning, it's much, much, much more important to be the employee.
Yeah. Couple things to add. Gonna try and not forget these thoughts. It kind of goes back to what we're saying in the earlier episode of this week's knowledge drop. When you're getting started, say you're in sales, you're trying to sell something, it is more useful to have twice as many sales calls versus taking your current script and optimizing it. And when you have a company with 300 salesmen, it's very much going to be worth your time to optimize the sales pitch or the sales script or whatever. That's going to be your main job. And then they're going to go out and brute force it. But right now, you're the guy who needs to do the brute force work. And there's no need to optimize yet. It's just throw more shit at the wall. That's really, I think the way I would sum it up is it comes down to throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, and then doing a hell of a lot more of what sticks. That's what how I would sum it up. Nate, you said sort of like, "Hey, do you want this offer?" No, okay, next person. That's part of it, but it's also, hey, maybe this isn't the right offer. So you want to throw different off. So you want to try an offer, see if people want it, and if they don't want it, you want to try a different offer. So it's throwing offers at the wall and seeing what sticks, and then just doubling down on that and going super hard. And
Yeah.
the thing about 100K is it's not that much money, and you can make 100K with a lot of businesses that aren't going to scale to 1 million a year in any form. Maybe the market's not big enough. Maybe it's just not a terribly scalable business. Um, on the other hand, there might be businesses like ecom where the market is huge, but you can get to 100K just by yourself. But so like 0 to 100K, you can do in just about any market with a lot of different offers. There's a lot of different ways to get there. It doesn't need to be a super scalable business to be able to get to 100K. Whereas to get to 1 million a year or whatever higher number, you're going to have to start thinking, is this the right business model? Is this the right offer? Is this the right audience? Do I have the right team in place, etc., etc., etc.? You're going to have to really do some critical thinking to see whether doing 10 times what you did from 0 to 100K is going to get you 10x results. Sometimes doing 10x the work gets you an extra 20%, and sometimes it literally 10x is your results or even more. And whether a business is going to scale like that requires some critical thought, but that critical thought is only worth having once you're at that stage. Because if you throw out a business because it's not scalable when you're trying to go from zero to 100K, you're potentially losing out on 100K. And if you're a super high earner, you don't care about 100K, cool. But most of you listening are young. 100K is a lot of money to you. Don't don't let lack of scalability stop you from pursuing a business that could easily make you 100K.
100%. I mean, that dude, that's such a life-changing amount of money when you're just starting out. Like, I don't want to make it sound like we're like, super rich guys, like, oh, 100K is nothing to us. But like, when you're first starting out, making 100K changes your life. If you do that, if you make 100K your first year or your second year or whatever, that's a pretty life-changing amount of money. I mean, if you can get that consistent, that allows you to quit your job. That allows you to do whatever it is that you're doing full time, and have a much more free life than you would working for someone else. And I think that's a really good point, that if something's not scalable, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like what I was doing when I first started was freelance copywriting. And that, I mean, I guess that could be kind of scalable maybe, but not really, because it's attached to my time. If I'm not writing copy, then I'm not making money. And obviously you could build an agency that, a copywriting agency or something, and hire people to do that. But I knew that going into it. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make $1 million a year as a freelance copywriter, but I didn't care, because I didn't care about making $1 million a year. When I was first starting out, man, I wanted to make $800 a week. That's all I cared about. $800 a week. That would be enough. That's what I figured would be enough for me to support myself, not have to rely on my parents, and not have to get a job, and be able to just work for myself. That's how much I needed. That's a very realistic goal for just about anyone. I thought it was this huge goal back in the day, and then I hit it like so much faster than I thought I was going to. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad that I did that, even though I didn't end up doing it for very long. I did freelance copywriting for a couple months and then kind of stopped doing it. But it was the best decision I made, because it allowed me to get started, and it allowed me to just kind of brute force my way into making, I definitely didn't even make 100K with freelance copywriting. But it allowed me to brute force my way to my first 10K, my first whatever K. And that is really what gave me the foundation that it has allowed me to do a lot of the things that I do now with e-commerce, with info marketing, and with all this stuff. It all started there. So I think that's a really good point, Scotty.
I would add that where I see a lot of people going wrong is they'll have some success with freelance copy, and then they'll immediately start thinking about how do I scale this
Yep.
when they've signed one client so far or two clients. They'll be like, oh, but this business model is not, it's not scalable. I need to change this. So then they try to hire someone. So then you've got a guy with 3 months copy experience trying to hire a guy and train him to be a copywriter. And I mean, that's just not going to go well. So you really want to you want to brute force your way. And you also, if you're doing the freelance route or any route really, you want to make sure that you also learn a lot in those early months. If you're doing ecom, don't try to delegate Facebook ads after 3 months. Don't try to hire an agency. Like you need to really get a solid grasp of this before you try to delegate or hire it out. And if that means you're limited in how much you can scale in the short term, so be it. But I really think it's worthwhile to brute force your way and not trying to be super smart, not try to build a super solid business. Just try to work hard and learn the skill that you need for your business and that you the practice that you get from actually doing the thing you're doing.
Definitely. So earlier we mentioned that we were going to talk about our buddy Andy, who's actually my roommate. Andy got into this stuff probably about a year after I did, maybe. I want to say somewhere around there. He found all my stuff. We started talking. He was DMing me all the time, and I ended up helping him out a little bit. And a few months after I'd kind of like initially started talking to him, I ended up meeting up with him with some of our other buddies, some of our other mutual friends that we had out in LA. And I watched this dude wake up at 6:30 a.m. every morning, send out a shit ton of cold emails, and just I mean there was from the outside looking in, there was no strategy. I mean, he wasn't thinking about what he was doing. It was just like, oh, okay, person I could cold email. Okay, send them a cold email, see if they want copywriting services. And that's all he did. And he sent thousands of cold emails. I'm not even kidding. Literally thousands of cold emails. And I don't think the cold emails themselves were that great. I've read some of them. I don't think they were very good. I don't think they were bad, but I don't think they were like fucking, oh my God, that's a great pitch. It was just like, I don't know, maybe slightly above average, whatever. But it didn't matter because he every single day was waking up early and he was just fucking brute forcing his way to his first 100K. And that's all it took. I mean, if you meet this guy, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. He's like, I'm not saying he's not a dumb guy by any means. He's honestly, I actually think he's pretty fucking smart. But there was no strategy. He just fucking brute forced his way, sent out a shit ton of cold emails. 99% of people probably ignored him, said no, said fuck off, stop emailing me, whatever. But it didn't matter because he got that 1%. And it was honestly probably just a numbers game at that point. And it was just crazy to watch because he went from being a broke college kid to making 10K plus per month just from sending out a shit ton of cold emails with very little strategy. And that's what it takes. I think people have this idea in their head that they need to come up with the best idea or they need to like really strategize things, blah, 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 blah. That's true if you're talking about building a really big multi-million-dollar business. It is not true when it comes to making enough money to be able to support yourself from online business. It's much less like, I don't know, much less in depth than that, much less thinking that needs to go into it. It's much more of a brute force endeavor. And if you start thinking of things like that, I think you'll probably make a lot more money a lot faster than trying to be the smart guy, strategizing, thinking you need to be a smart business mind. No, you don't need to at all. You need to have a basic understanding of marketing. You need to get your offer in front of a lot of people, tweak it, try to get it to the best it can be, and just keep iterating. That's really the name of the game.
100%, 100%.
So long story short, know when to be the dumb guy and know when to be the smart guy. There are times for both. But for the majority of people who are just starting out with business, they need to be the dumb guy, not the smart guy. It's not good for the ego. I know the ego's like, no, I'm the smart guy. And you're like trying to get out of your body. Like, no, I'm the smart guy. I swear. No, be okay with being the dumb guy because I would much rather be the dumb guy with money than the smart guy who's poor. Mic drop. Boom. That's it. I'm pretty sure that was a straight fucking line from Tej's email about this. So I'm kind of copying him a little bit. All credit on this concept goes to Tej Dosa, the man.
Yes, sir. I think that's particularly important for people in school or university who've been in that sort of environment for a lot of time, because there you get rewarded for being thoughtful, well thought out, and smart rather than brute forcing. But in business, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's in really like more specifically, it's brute forcing the sales and the marketing. Like that's really what's most important. My buddy just started a painting business. He literally paints people's walls inside their house. And it's just been amazing to watch him because again, I think he really understands this concept. Whether or not he knows it or not, I think he really does understand it. He's a very smart guy, but he's also just fucking hammering the marketing, hammering the sales, going around. He's talking to everyone that he can talk to, being like, hey, do you need paint? Do you need paint? Do you need paint? He's going door to door. This motherfucker's literally going door to door asking people if they need their homes painted. And he gets business and he makes money. And he's doing really well, honestly. So that's the way. That is the freaking way, man.
Certainly seems like it.
And then once you get to that point, let us know when you think you need to start being the smart guy. Let us know, and we can talk about that a little bit more. I don't know. Being the smart guy to me, it's kind of fun and it's cool. It's fun to strategize, and it is really cool when you have like a foundation built up and then you make these strategical moves and they end up paying off. But there's just something special about that first stage, man, where you're just fucking hustling, grinding, just getting that first 100K. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
It is. It is. You're gonna miss it when it's over.
Oh yeah, and you would know that if you were subscribed for the first knowledge drop. Right? That's when, yeah, enjoy the struggle. Episode number 9, that should have been. Okay. Anyway, I think that's about it. Scott, you got anything else you want to add before we close this one off?
I do not. I believe that's the end of this week's drop.
Beautiful. I feel really good about this week's, man. After recording all this, wow. I think you guys are gonna like this stuff a lot. If you're listening to this, then I mean you would have already liked it. So I think you'll have liked it. Yeah, maybe. Something like that. Thanks for listening, folks. Thanks for joining us for this week's knowledge drop inside the legendary, well, maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The Ecom Dispensary, the legendary Ecom Dispensary. Thanks for being here. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. Hopefully you got something out of this. As always, hit us up in Telegram. Let us know what you thought. Let us know any questions you have, things that we can clarify. Any topics that you want us to talk about, we are more than happy to take requests. Can't promise that we'll talk about it. If you give us something stupid, we're probably not going to talk about it. But if you give us something good, we'll talk about it. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Peace.